Tres.
I'm getting ready. Okay. Morning, classmates, teacher. This is a panel about the importance of reading at a young age. Reading is an important skill during the childhood and in the children. So basically, in this panel, we have a very specialist in each in this topic, and they share with us this topic. Okay, so I introduce the panel. Today I have the opportunity to talk with big personalities. I start with Gonzalo. He's known for his theory of psychosocial development, with focuses on different stages of emotional and social works. Then we have Marcelo, a professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences, child and adolescent psychiatry at Stanford University. Then we have Eduardo, a first consultant in the psychology in the UK, and he's specialized in parental controllership. We have Jose, a psychologist, work on behavior and child psychology. Thank you to be here, and let's start.
Thank you.
First, I want to start with this question. How does reading help children develop at a young age? First, I want to start with Gonzalo, please.
Okay, so we've all heard that children are like sponges, right? Capable of absorbing all kinds of information to themselves. And while this is true, it is of the utmost importance to make sure that whatever they absorb contains the necessary knowledge for them to grow and to learn in a way that benefits them. What I mean by this is that many parents that do not read to their children are still going to receive the benefits of hearing them talk, of hearing them have conversations with other people. But the issue with this is that often the children that hear these conversations tend to receive only information with a limited amount of vocabulary and grammar, right? They would often end up hearing the parents talk in the same way because as they do. And this is not something bad for them. Of course, it's something that's very good, but we should make an effort for children to receive different types of vocabulary and different type of grammar and of simply language. So a good way of doing this is reading to them. That's what reading does. It improves the children, let's say, absorption of different vocabulary and grammar. And it is said, according to studies, that children that are read to, they are able to learn or have heard up to 290,000 more words than a children or a kid that hasn't been read to before getting to kindergarten.
Gonzalo, I heard your point, and it's very important what you say about that the parents have to stay with kids and also read the books. And if they have this connection, is very important because the kids are gonna be inspired of read these books and also get this type of activity. Yeah. Please, Marcelo.
Yeah, sure. Can you just repeat the question so the audience can?
Of course. How does reading help children development at a young age?
So, well, answering your question, reading plays a crucial role in a child's cognitive and emotional and social development, and it also offers numerous benefits. I would talk about two that were the most important for me that I found out. The first one is the language of development. So when reading to children at a young age, this exposes them to rich and diverse vocabulary, and first they will start to know all these new words that come to their mind by reading it, and also it will start their curiosity in learning these words, these new words and definitions. The second one is the imagination and creativity. This will encourage the children to use their imagination, because when they're being read to, they will have like their imagination will be used, and this will help them in the long term and has numerous benefits. Recent studies found that the education at early childhood reading, it says here, frequently at age 4 to 5 achieve high scores on the National Assessment Program, and they approved this test that was for children who were even children from 4 to 5 years old approved the test that were read to approve the test that was for even higher age children because they were read to.
Great. That's a very important point because we can say that reading also helps in academic improvements. And that's very, very important, this type of thing, because then the kids that are capable of reading more books, they will enjoy with good grades and this type of stuff. Okay. So next, Eduardo, please, can you help me?
So first, hi, thanks for coming here. I'm gonna talk from the psychological part of the argument. And in this question, I'm gonna focus on 3 main points. First of all, there's the cognitive abilities that the children can learn from early age by reading. It is well documented how areas in the brain, such as the prefrontal cortex, get stimulated when the kid starts reading. New connections in the neurons are made, and it reinforces areas such as problem solving, creativity, and memory. Okay, the second one is emotional abilities. The children who read are more empathetic because they are reading from different stories and different characters that have different life situations. So this encourages them to know different situations and understand them from an early age so they can accept diversity with more open-hearted and understand different. The third one is attachment and bonding. This is not directly related to reading, but most of the times when children read this age, they do it with their parents, and this creates a special bond between them, and it's very important for the development of the child. I want to cite a quote of Dr. Phillips, who works at the Child Mind Institute. The physical contact that you get from being held by your parent while you're reading actually helps you to engage neurons in the brain, which makes kids more receptive to the language and the cognitive stimulation that they're getting from that experience. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, as you say, it's very true that this engagement with the parents and the kids is very important because when the kids are reading, they find this type of troubles for example, in the people that are in the books, so they can imagine how they can solve this problem, and the kids can be a problem solver probably in the future.
That's correct.
Okay, now final but not least important, say.
Hello, so I am a psychologist that specializes in the environment of kids at a young age, whether they're reading or they're not reading. So I'm going to start right here with a fact. Now, in America and the US, in studies in 2019 show that over 45 million Americans are illiterate. What does this mean? Well, this means that over 45 million Americans cannot read or haven't read a single word in their whole life, which may mean that they haven't developed certain skills that many children developed when they are acquired to reading at a young age. They are used to, and in education and in their homes. Now, I can start off by saying that a positive self-image is the first thing that may come to mind when a kid reads a book. Why is this? Well, we have examples of superhero comics that superheroes are always like the good person in their stories. Well, kids think of this idea of how successful they are, and they think of themselves as capable as the one of the character they're reading in the book. They also show, as Eduardo said, characters that may struggle in certain points of stories. So this means that kids try to overcome, and we can state that one of the majority of the things that a child would like to overcome is their fears. So fears that come at an early age, which is very normal for kids at a very young age. Is reading stories can help them acquire this ability to explore the world, explore what their environment is about, and learn new things, as all of these great persons have said.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, as you say, this is gonna involve that the kids can create a personality, because if they read something, for example, for movies, on a book for movies, a book for science, each kid is gonna get this personality and will be affected in the future. Okay, thank you. Now we start with the second question. I want to ask this question: how we can promote reading in the children at this young age? Please start with Marcelo.
Okay, good. Well, promoting reading. Sorry, I'm just gonna.
How we can promote reading at children in this new age.
Yeah, okay. So the 3 points I can say about this question, it will be first of all the parental involvement. To encourage parents to actively involve their child's reading journey, and offer them some like guidance so they can have these reading really in their lives. The second one is the early exposure to really emphasize these books to the infants, maybe like yes, get some first introduce them with illustrating books so they would call their attention to it, less words, and then you will increasingly hand them books that with less drawings and more words. And also the third one that I came up with is that library visits, maybe like, I don't know, maybe instead of going to a walk in the park or going in a walk in the park, you can go to the library and visit the library, and we can also make this a fun experience so they don't think that books are boring. Reading is it's a fun thing to do, and it also increases your knowledge made insane. And yeah.
Great, yeah, as you say, it's important that the kids have like less books with less words at the start, and then over the time they can use like more books with more letters, more words, more things that are more not to simplify the book. So it's important to know that the parents have to create this environment that the children have to be happy and but wants to read in the future. Okay, now Gonzalo, please, your point.
Well, as a psychologist, I believe there's many recommendations one can make to parents to make sure that their kids read, right? So there are many strategies that one can use to promote reading in their children. But I believe that one of the most successful ones, as I've observed in my consultations with kids and parents, is to make kids or to allow kids to fall in love with stories, right? The most read topic by children through many years in the USA has been fiction. I mean, there are many types of fiction and subfiction, but in the general scope, it's fiction. So we can say that kids are mostly interested in fictional stories and stories as a whole. So we can allow them to fall in love with the concept of a story, and that will make them more interested in reading books. So there are many ways to do this. As my fellow psychologist mentioned, we can use books that have more illustrations and pictures, and then allow them to delve into books with more words and vocabulary. But there are other ways to do this, right? If we allow a kid to experience some activities as theater, or maybe listen to podcasts that focus on storytelling, we can allow children to fall in love with the concept of a story, and then there can be an interest grown in the kid of reading books, right? So this is a strategy that I've observed, and studies also support this strategy to promote reading in children.
Okay, now please.
Okay, to answer this question, I would like to refer to the behavior called observational learning, which was proposed by Albert Bandura, a psychologist. This basically is what one of my colleagues said, that kids are like sponges from early age due to the neuroplasticity in their brains. So they are constantly absorbing all the behaviors they see in their surroundings. And from 0 to 5 years, usually those surroundings their parents are like the main figures to model. So it is of no surprise that like if you want your kid to read, you actually need to read and show him an example. That not only include like reading aside privately, that means engaging with your child and showing him that reading is interesting and engaging in parental activities that increase the bond. This also adds to the next point, which is related to what my colleague said about having them in adventures and in places where they can feel the experience elevated and they enjoy reading. That includes being as a parent there and reading with them out loud, setting rhymes, asking him questions. That will make him more likely to read and enjoy that experience.
Yeah, as you say, the kids have to be more motivated. So in this environment, the kids are going to read, and not for obligation as well as like a fun activity, and this is very important for this growing. And now as second your point.
All right, so my point of view is, as a parent, you must choose age-appropriate books, which means mostly fiction books, illustrated pictures. Why is this? Well, studies show that young people who start off by reading fictional books, their ability for decision making is greatly affected, increased by 50 or even 100%, which means they develop the skill of decision making. And the next step must be let them choose. What does this mean? Acquire probably three or four books. Let the kid choose whichever his or her eye decides this is the one. Well, let them be. Don't try to influence their opinion or what they like based off what you want them to learn, because they're still kids, and it's just to pop that idea that reading is good and that reading is a must in young education. And another point that may be very well is to build a home library. What does this mean? You don't have to buy shelves or others sort of things to actually build a library, but acquire books. Have a great amount. Probably you can buy 2 books a week or 5 books a month if you want to, for your young child to learn and start coping and start realizing that this is what they have to do, that it is a must. So studies also show that kids who read 20 minutes or more each day for a whole year, their vocabulary is increased by, well, not their vocabulary, but they see around 2 million words a year. So these are really great numbers that I think as a parent, you don't want your child to miss out on.
Okay, thank you all for your answers. Now I want to enter to a question answer part. So please, the audience.
Do you think that the public school system should develop more initiatives to encourage kids to read?
I can answer that. I would say that the simple answer would be, of course, there should be plenty of initiatives from public and private educational systems in order to incentivize reading of children. One could say that here in Mexico, it has been not enough, as our rate of how do you say this word? When someone is not able to read, illiteracy is higher than other countries in the third world, we could say. So there's plenty room for opportunity and to progress in this area.
I have a follow-up for what Gonzalo said and for your question. Well, for some years I lived in the United States. Well, I was in a private school, but let me tell you something. Book fairs and sort of things where you go and sell books to a school. Well, it gives the students an initiative to go and seek around what is in the shelves, try to buy something, maybe not because you want to read, but you want to leave with a book. So it makes you go home and want to read it, and that's what keeps on promoting reading at a young age.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, as a conclusion, we take a lot of information that's very important to say, because the child is going to be very encouraged to his develop. For example, if they read a lot in his young age, they will improve as the time pass. For example, if the child start reading science comics, science books, science things. For example, in the future, it can be that he can be a famous researcher, a famous people that invent something for the science. So it's very important that parents have 2 paths: that the child feels alone when they read, or that they feel with this love, with this inspired. If the parents are with children, it's going to be a very different thing. So I think the important thing here is that the parents have to get this encouraged and this inspired for the kids, so they can be a perfect reader. Okay.
Thank you, Pedro.
Very good. Additional comments?